Able to get the recording going?
Yep, it's going now. I was just about to email you back.
Okay, great. Morning, everybody. We'll give a few more minutes for folks to join up. Glad to see we're getting a good group showing up today. I was playing around with being able to share a screen for an that I've been working on, so I'm going to try and do that. I also emailed it to Tina, who's going to make that available, I think, on the website.
Yep, if you look in the chat, there is a link to the agenda. So to access the chat, if you hover at the bottom, the toolbar will pop up and you can see chat.
You able to see the agenda now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Doesn't show up on my screen when I do it that way, so this is kind of what I'm looking at. I guess I could leave that up for everybody. At least for a little while here. All right, we got about one more minute and then we'll get started, everybody. You take a look at the agenda that I have there. If you have any additional things, we'll kind of cover additional topics at the end, I guess, and go from there.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
I'm doing well, Clay. How are you?
I'm okay. You in the office today?
I am.
Good for you.
I think most days I only spent one day at home so far, and that was a little difficult. So I've been in the office. Yesterday I was out picking up trash and collecting trash from all the parks.
Gotcha.
So we're
keeps a little sense of normalcy.
Yes, yeah. It was actually kind of nice to get out and on a sunny day and go walk the parks.
Right. Good for you.
All right, everybody, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining me. I know last week we did our Clay and M Parks hosted a meeting more on recreation activities and parks operations and those sorts of things, but I really wanted to have an opportunity to have a discussion with folks that have golf operations and how that affected right now. As we probably all know, under the governor's executive order right now, we're not allowed to open our golf courses, but for those of you that have golf courses, and I'm assuming all of you do if you're tuned into this, We still have to do some maintenance out there and keep our golf courses in good shape to be able to open if and when we are able to do that. So one of the battles that I've been faced with is from leadership that doesn't necessarily understand how intricate grass is on a golf course, that they think, well, my lawn isn't growing yet and I haven't had to mow that yet, or why not just let it grow, and then when it's time to golf, we'll just go cut it back down to normal length and boom, you're ready to go. So trying to communicate that to everybody has certainly been a challenge during this time. I don't know if everybody has experienced this, but clearly most of the leadership in leadership either stayed at a Holiday or as a golf professional. They know more about it than most others do, apparently. So I wanted to start with a discussion on maintenance practices. And for those of you that have not used a Zoom meeting before or calling in, you're able to mute yourself. And I believe if you just press the space bar or click on the microphone, you're able to unmute yourself. So I just wanted to have a quick discussion to start with on what are you doing or aren't you doing. In Canton, we are doing as minimal as possible. We have not fired up our irrigation system yet. Our irrigation tech is itching and asking every day for permission to fire that up, but we have not done so yet. We're mowing the greens once or twice a week, and then mowing the fairways and approaches once a week right now. We may even be able to go 2 weeks on those, and then tee boxes once a week. So anybody else doing anything else at this point? Doing more? Is anybody not doing any maintenance? You feel free to chip in at any time, anybody. Just if you're on the phone, we may need you to let us know who you are and what you're doing. We're getting quite
Greg. Hey, Greg, this is Cartwright, the Deputy Director of Wayne County Parks. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Welcome.
Welcome to you, too. We're down to one golf course, Inkster Valley, if you're aware of Inkster Valley.
Yep.
And the vendor there is just started yesterday, concentrating on the greens and tees, and he's going to concentrate on those with a low frequency of 1 or 2 times a week until we can figure this all out.
Right. Okay. Appreciate that. Anybody else having a challenge communicating to supervisors, board members, about the importance of maintaining an asset? You know, right now, obviously the governor's order said, but we're not allowed to operate, and it also says that landscapers are not allowed to work. I guess I'm jumping to number 4 on my agenda, but it kind of all goes together there.
This is Doug Kelly from Ann Arbor Parks and Rec. We've used the Golf Course Superintendents Association kind of punch list of things that need to be done, and we've forwarded that on to our bosses and city council, and they've all agreed with that it is an important asset to maintain. And so, as you said in the beginning, just minimal maintenance we're doing, a couple times mowing, no irrigation, and so far everybody's been fine with that.
Okay. If maybe you could forward that, a link to that document or that document to Tina and Clay that could be shared with the agenda for this.
Sure.
And if anybody else has any other resources like that, that would be very helpful. Is there anybody out there that is not doing any maintenance right now? Going once, going twice. That's good to know. That helps me and probably helps others that you guys are able to go back to your superiors and say that you're on a phone call with, I don't know how many people we've got on here right now, but multiple other agencies, and there isn't anybody out there currently that we know of, that I know of, that is not doing any maintenance. Probably the farther north you go in the state, the less you have to do. You can probably defer it a little bit longer than the southern counties and communities. What about staffing? Move on to staffing. Obviously, we would probably have hired most of our part-time staff at this point, or in finalizing our staffing for the summer. But right now, we have put a complete hold on all hiring practices for the township right now. So we're not doing interviews or hiring anybody on for part-time positions. Does anybody have thoughts on what they're doing for part-time? Is anybody hiring part-time staff right now?
The city of Charlevoix, I'm not hiring, but I have been doing phone interviews, and our golf course manager's done the same. So we have staff lined up, ready to go when we're ready to pull the trigger to do that.
Okay, that's great. Is anybody else doing phone or video interviews for staff?
We're lucky, and back to Ann Arbor again, we're lucky where we have a lot of returning staff, both maintenance and clubhouse staff. The city is allowing us to bring back returning staff. They're kind of slowing us down on bringing in any new hires unless it's a necessity. We have a couple new maintenance people who were in the process of getting hired before this came down. So we were able to finish up with them, and they've just started as of yesterday to increase our maintenance crew from 3 people up to 6 people.
Okay.
This is Chuck Cobalt, Jackson County Parks, and I've got 1 new employee that's worked like a total of 3 days. Other than that, it's 3 other returners at this point, probably adding 1 or 2 more returners next week.
So currently in Canton, like I said, we have not hired any of our part-time staff. All of our part-time staff for the entire township have been off since March 16th. So if they were working, what we did is for the first 3 weeks, we paid them for an average of their last 3 pay periods. So we paid we're paying all of our full-time, and we paid our part-time for 3 weeks that way. And then with the federal relief CARES Act that got passed, there was the Family First Coronavirus Response Act that said that you should pay all part-time and full-time people for 2 weeks of leave if you're shut down or if they're sick or all that. Anything related to the coronavirus, if they have to care for family members or anything. So what the township has done is we have basically put all full-time, all non-essential full-time, and all of our part-time people off, and we're paying them under that Family First Coronavirus Response Act for the next 2 weeks, assuming that the governor is going to extend the stay home, stay safe order. So if she doesn't extend that and we're back to work on the 14th, which I don't think anybody believes that we're going to be, then that leave would be terminated at that time, and we would be back to operations, but I can't imagine that happening. So assuming that we're off for the next 2 weeks, that's how we're operating. So we are down to, I have a few maintenance folks that are cleaning police and fire, and then a few of our administrative staff. All of my parks maintenance and golf maintenance staff that are union employees are off on this leave right now. So I have my golf superintendent, who is non-union, my golf pro, and my park supervisor, who are non-union, are all out mowing right now. And I was personally out with a couple other of our supervisory staff out collecting trash in the parks ourselves to be able to get the job done. So we're trying to go the next 2 weeks without any of our full-time or part-time union staff. Is anybody else doing anything with that Family First Coronavirus Response Act at this point? Oh, okay. If anybody has any further questions about that or thoughts on that, I'd be happy to have an offline discussion with you. You can just send me an email. I'll add my direct email to the bottom of this agenda here, so hopefully you can see that. If you have any direct questions on how we're handling the FMLA leave right now, feel free to email me at that address, and I'll try and give you some more information, or we can set up a phone call to discuss that. What about operations plans for if and when we are able to operate? I know that some of the states, one of the resources that I posted down here, the Golf Digest resource, hopefully, can you guys see that that's highlighted there for those that are on video? Okay. That has a state-by-state listing of where golf is allowed right now, whether or not you're able to have golf operations, and whether or not you're allowed to do golf maintenance. It seems to be about 50-50 where you're allowed to golf. I know Ohio did a stay home, stay safe, similar order prior to Michigan, but they are allowing residents to golf with social distancing and some different operating practices. Michigan, you're not. I know somebody who went down to Ohio, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, to go golf. And by the time they got into the clubhouse after golfing, there was a sign up that Ohio residents only were going to be allowed to golf. So they were getting a flood of Michigan going down there because we can't golf up here. So if it's close enough, folks are taking to Ohio. So it sounds like some Ohio golf courses are now limiting that to Ohio residents only. I don't know how they're checking that. Things that I've heard that golf courses are doing to minimize social distance or maximize social distancing and minimize interactions are doing online payments only. We're able to take payments over the internet, so you wouldn't have to actually enter the clubhouse to pay for tee time. Some places are doing 1 cart per person, and some places are doing walking only. We may look to do the 1 cart per person option because our course has a lot of distance between holes. At Pheasant Run, anyways, we typically don't allow walkers. Other ideas that folks are doing are no rakes in the bunkers, just so that there's no community touching of those items there. Setting the cups so they're about 1 inch above ground, and just counting your putt if it hits the cup and not going in, which would be a great help to me because I personally am a very poor putter. So if I could just jam it at the cup, that might help my golf game a few strokes. So I'm hoping that we'll go to that permanently. And then also, since those cups are set up high, then you no longer would need to remove the flag stick. So that takes away the community touching there. Any other thoughts on operations, how people may look to do that if and when we're allowed?
Hey, good morning, Greg.
Morning.
Hey, my name is Kirk Sherwood. I'm at Green Oaks Golf Course in Ypsilanti Township. I guess my question is going to be is when all this gets going, we get open again, are people going to realize that everything's still going to have to be limited? You're not going to be able to just go back to what we were doing where two people are in a cart. So
Right.
how's that going to affect outings? How's that going to affect your leagues? There's a number of issues that are going to come up with this because the next question is going to be, and I've talked to my superintendent. Our staff right now is limited to the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, myself, and then Clayton, which you're aware where Clayton was over at Pheasant Run.
Yep.
So I'm just not sure really. And then the next thing is to disinfect the carts. How long are we going to have shortages on disinfectant? You know, so I'm not sure exactly how we go about this when we finally do get open, but there's a lot of problems that, you know, and I can completely understand people wanting to play golf and the petition to open golf courses. But from the safety side of the staff, there's a lot of concerns, and I don't think that's being taken into account by a lot of the people posting the petition.
Yep, I agree with that. I think it's hard to, one of the factors that we ended up closing all of our township operations prior to the initial governor executive order saying everything should be closed. One of the factors that we took into account is like what you talked about with the disinfectant and the supply of that, is that we wanted to, we have a fair amount on hand because we have so many facilities, but we wanted to save everything for our police and fire operations so that because we're not sure if and when we'll be able to get more disinfectant. So that's a great point of saying that it doesn't necessarily justify opening the golf course and using your cleaning supplies on disinfecting golf courts and then running out of cleaning supplies for your police and fire operations.
My other question that hasn't been addressed is what are people doing to use restrooms?
Good point. I don't have the.
Well, I'm just throwing it out there
answers.
since we're talking.
Yeah,
but I mean, this is all stuff that nobody's really thinking about. And you can't have people. You can't open your on-course restrooms and have multiple people touching door handles and going into the bathrooms once they're not winterized anymore. Anyway.
Right.
I mean, you guys didn't even get open at this point, did you?
No, we did not.
We were open for 7 days before her order. Well, we closed down a week before her order came down, or 3 days before her order came down.
Okay.
But I mean, these are all things that, from our standpoint, you're going to have to take a look at because you can't just let them come in and out of the clubhouse, and you can't let them go in and out of bathrooms that are standing. And then porta potties is a whole nother situation.
Right.
So I don't know what your answer is for that. And then you got residents, obviously, in your neck of the woods. Hey, they're using the tree, you know. So.
Right. I was going to say for those rural courses, they might have an answer, but for courses like mine that are on in a condo association, that's a little tougher decision.
Right. And I had the same situation when I was over in Grand Rapids before I came over here. I mean, when you got condo associations, you're going to get phone calls regardless.
Yes. So absolutely.
Some things to think about. I mean, I know talking to my superintendent, he's a little concerned with just changing cups. I mean, even having cups on the course is a consideration not to have them if this is going to kind of be a new norm. So just some things to think about. I can understand pulling flag sticks or not moving. I mean, are we going to not move the cups very often? Are you just going to maybe go with no cup? You know, there's some options there, but, you know, you're still going to have to think about the staff and keeping the staff safe as well.
Sure.
So just a couple things I thought that I'd throw out there to you guys just to kind of give you some ideas of what I'm kind of thinking. So.
I certainly appreciate that. And that's what I wanted to have this discussion just to try and get ideas and brainstorm stuff, what other people are thinking, because I certainly know that I'm no expert and don't have all the answers, and there's probably a lot more questions than any of us have answers. So I'm happy to get as much input as we can for this. Any other thoughts on that?
This is Lori Cooper from Springfield Oaks in Oakland County. We are not open, we are not operating, but some of our park facilities are, and what they have done with restrooms is they've closed everything down except a porta-john, and it has a sign that it is cleaned once a day, and it's kind of like user beware. And then it is
Okay.
the supervisor who is going in and cleaning the porta-john in a full suit once a day. Because the other, the thing is, if this is the new norm, at some point we got to figure this out. How do we address these issues? And people have to be responsible for their own safety. We can't really safeguard 100% everything.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. We haven't opened any of our restrooms in any of our parks to this point. We were getting close to that point. They were all winterized, but we've left them winterized at this point. We've gotten a few comments from the public, but very limited on that. Most people understand. But yes, I agree that at a certain point, people will want restrooms available. Any other operations thoughts or food service? Like could be done. My thinking on that is it could be done if and when we're able to operate. Could be done similar to what most of the restaurants are doing, to where you call ahead, order, and then we'll have your order sitting outside ready for you. So there's still no interaction there. Basically a limited takeout food service operation.
Might be safe just to go with prepackaged items.
Right.
At least for a good couple months and figure out what's going on.
Right. That's a good point. Okay, so, and then another thing that we're looking at, once we do get to for social distancing for guests and staff, is on the staff side specifically, is having a staggered start time. Right now, we only have 3 people that are working. But once we get through the Family First Coronavirus Response Act leave that we put everybody on, I'm hoping, I don't know for sure, I'm hoping that I'll be able to bring the majority of my parks crew back, because 2 weeks from now, grass in the parks is really going to be growing, and grass on the courses are really going to be growing. And the idea of just letting that grow to, in our regular parks as their usage is increasing, to letting that grass get to be a foot long is not a realistic expectation for folks. So I'm hoping to be able to bring them back to just do mowing on the golf course and the parks, looking at a staggered start time so that we would have few people starting at the same time, giving them their orders, and then sending them off on their mowers to basically work fairly independently. Instead of having like a group meeting to start the day, we could have assignments by paper and just list out, okay, here's what you're going to do for the day. Come in, get your equipment, and go. And then at the end of the day, at the start of your shift and at the end of the day, disinfecting your any equipment that you use or plan to use. Any of your thoughts on staff social distancing practices that you're using or plan to use? Okay. Justifying the need, we kind of talked a lot about that. I used an analogy that I used is our heating and cooling units that we're maintaining. We continue to have staff come in on a regular basis to do preventative maintenance, walk through our heating, cooling areas, make sure that they're running, monitoring those on a regular basis. And nobody has questioned that in terms of maintaining an asset that is extremely expensive to replace if you don't do those things. And I've tried to compare greens and tee boxes and those sorts of things to those types of assets, saying that, if you were to just let a green go, it's going to cost you significant money per green, tens of thousands of dollars potentially per green, and we have 227-hole golf courses, and you start doing the math on that, it adds up really fast to a very large bill. And then also on the revenue side, if we were to let those go when, say, in July, if we were to open at that point, all of our leagues would leave for other courses that are maintaining their assets. And that would be a multi-year process to bring all the leagues back at that point. So you're going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars of expenses and then lose hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue for multiple years by maintaining those. So that's kind of the financial picture that I've tried to paint for those don't necessarily understand the impact that not maintaining your course could have. So we can continue to share resources on that. Get like if everyone, we can somehow get a list of all the folks that called in on this, and we can create a email group chat. So if you at the end of this send Tina and Clay an email just asking to be included on that, we can start a little group chat that all of us can share ideas back and forth with. Sorry to throw more at you, Tina and Clay. Just idea that popped into my head there.
I'm gonna
No,
chime in
we're
real
happy
quick.
to do that, Greg. I think anytime we can be a resource to bring the groups together, we'll be happy to do that. You know, just understanding we are also working from home, dealing with some of our own issues with the association. But I think this is the best thing we can do for all of you. So if there are other chats or if there are other specific operations that you all outside of golf courses want to have set up, that's what Tina and I have been kind of doing lately is trying to get webinars and chats up and running so people can share those resources and we can upload them to the website. We should be able to share this discussion or this video. So do not hesitate to reach out if there are other topics you all want to have discussed, because there's other people thinking the same thing.
And just to jump on that, I just put my email address in the chat box, but also in the chat box is a link to our virtual wellness toolkit, which has both resources on COVID-19 and how different parks and recreation departments are addressing different concerns, but also it has kind of plethora of other resources for you to utilize personally and professionally. And we can set up a golf focused
Oh, that'd be great.
group in our online community in YM. So I put my email address in there. So if anybody wants to be connected with that, just send me an email.
Is there a way you can send that out via regular email? Because I can't do Zoom with the computer setup they gave me at the county. I'm blocked. I can't use Zoom at all. Only thing I can do is
Who am I
email.
Speaking? Who's speaking right now?
This is Lori Cooper from Springfield Oaks.
Okay. Yep, I can send you an email. And then
Thank you.
all of this we'll put in our e-blast and on Facebook too, so that if I'm not sending you a direct email, you should be able to find it still.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. The one upside to all this is this new challenge has really forced our IT department to become a little more progressive and adopt some more progressive things like Zoom meetings that we were never allowed to do before. So that's pushed us a little bit farther ahead. We're now in the 18th century of computers, so we're moving right along.
Yeah, IT's had to release a little bit. There's no doubt there.
Yes, absolutely. So that's definitely been one positive. So, and to Tina and Clay's credit, last week during the director's phone call, director and public policy, since there wasn't much focus on golf, which is fine, I emailed Clay and Tina asking about setting this up, and they were very quick to respond and get this going so that we could host a little bit of information on golf. So we certainly appreciate that. It's good to get other folks' perspectives instead of feeling like you're on an island out there.
On the IT side, I had the same issue she's talking about this morning. I'm on my personal laptop. So if you can't get on because you're controlled through a township or an IT department, then you can always try your own computer for something like this.
Yeah, you can also do I believe Zoom has an app that you can download.
My IT department wouldn't let that happen. So.
Oh, okay. Well. Let's see, what else do we have on there? I posted the resources on there. The Golf Digest one has the listing of state by state of where you can and can't golf. GAM was specifically doing an update there on the governor's executive order and questions that they had gotten responses from the governor on. And the third one there is a resource, a reduced maintenance suggestion from, I can't remember the gentleman's name that somebody suggested to me from Michigan State. He's one of the professors there in the agronomy department. So he came up with a suggested plan there and gave that. He also sent that on to the governor's office to try and get them to ease up on allowing courses to at least continue to do maintenance, because their initial response was no, that we could not do golf maintenance, but it seems like they're softening on that stance a little bit. So that was that resource there. And again, for those of you that called in on the phone, I believe Tina is going to try and get this posted on the website. It may already be posted there, so that you guys can have access to those resources that I posted. We talked a fair amount about controlling costs already through staffing. Any other thoughts on that before I skip on to the next one? Okay. My next topic is, what are you doing for members or annual pass holders during this time? Are you looking at refunds, partial refunds, extensions, anything? We have no idea at this point what we're going to do. So I think somebody else gives me some words of wisdom. Somebody say, anybody?
I've got some thoughts. I mean, this has been looked at from a number of different angles. The first is we've had a number of members that joined in March. Well, not members, I'll say season pass holders to be technically accurate. So there's a couple options that we're looking at. Our season passes end on November 15th. Probably looking to extend that should we stay open. The other option is we figure out when we get going, and then we offer them either a voucher or money back or a discount off next year's based on the amount of time that was missed. That's kind of the three options we're looking at right now.
And who was this one? It was
Kirk.
Okay.
Yep. I think a lot of it's going to be determined with the date we determine when we're going to open again, though. So it's kind of hard to reach out and say, hey, this is what we're going to do until we've got a definite, hey, this is when we're looking to open again. The option's going to be back on the table.
Right. Anybody?
How many people have really had people reach out so far and say, hey, I want my money back?
Yeah, so far we've been fortunate, but I know at a certain point it'll probably come. Anyone else have any thoughts?
Yeah, this is Doug from Ann Arbor again. We sell just annual passes. We don't start discounting those annual passes till the middle of June. So I've been in touch with most of our pass holders just saying, if anyone wants a full refund, we're willing to issue that full refund now. And then they can just go on a daily fee after that. If not, then we'll explore starting in June, discounting the passes back for, depending on how long this takes. So far, everyone's willing to gamble and stay with us and be strong and hold out till they can get on the course.
Appreciate that. Any other thoughts on members / annual pass holders?
Hi, this is Kent in Charlevoix. One of the things that, again, we're just coming up with contingency plans, but we've talked about for our members, maybe doing, something extra for them and kind of, once we have a clearer vision on where it's going, whether that's like some towels or, swag, that type of thing, just, thanking them for sticking with us. So,
okay.
But we really, yeah.
Kent went on mute.
There towards the end, Kent.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. So we've just looked at doing the swag gifts for membership and, some way of thanking them for sticking with us. But it's going to depend really, I guess, on how quickly we're able to get up and running, whether that's significant benefit or not.
Okay. Thanks.
One other option we had considered after I was talking to our Parks and Rec coordinator. We've also considered sending out a survey and saying, A, would you like your money back? B, would you like it prorated? And this is Kirk again from Green Oak, sorry. So to maybe send a survey out to them is also a consideration to get an idea. Are they looking for an extension on the season because we end November 15th, which is no guarantee? Are they looking for their money back? Are they looking for a voucher towards next year? Just to kind of get an overall survey might not be a bad idea either. So I'm just throwing that one out there.
Okay. It's a good idea. Any last thoughts on members, annual pass holders? If not, I'll move on to my last agenda item that I had, which I ran into last Friday, something we typically don't deal with, but it was a beautiful day on Friday, sunny, 60 degrees. I was driving out and I noticed there was a foursome heading out on hole number 10, another group heading out on, I believe, one of our other, it would be 19. And then there were 3 groups on our putting green doing chipping and putting that I had to go have discussions with. So what are you all doing for preventing folks from just walking on the course right now, since most of the time your staff's not there probably? Has anybody else experienced that?
Yeah, this is Chris from the City of Southfield, Evergreen Hills. We've had some people walking onto our course. We had a nature area that kind of attaches to the back of the course, so we've locked that gate, and that has seemed to help. And we have a very nice user of the course that sits across the street in a big high-rise, and he's been able to call us when he sees people out on the course. So then we just call public safety and have them go check it out.
Okay.
Greg, Kirk from Green Oaks again.
Sure.
We're fortunate because the golf course is fenced in, so I don't have to worry about people on the golf course. It's completely fenced around the perimeter. But just like you had the situation at Pheasant Run where you had a bunch of people that were out on the golf course, and I know of another golf course that had about 30 or 40 on it the other day, and I don't think they were open. But again, personal carts going out on the course and stuff like that. I guess my question would be, can the golf course be held responsible if somebody calls and they're not controlling who's on their golf course as far as fines go?
I don't know. I wouldn't
So, I
think.
mean, just to throw that out there, it makes me kind of wonder because, as much as they're talking about fines, they're talking about finding people that are buying non-essentials at Lowe's, finding people that are buying non-essentials at Home Depot, that type of stuff. So does that go along with, and again, this goes back to a case, I'm from Jackson originally. But there's a golf course in Jackson where, while they're closed, and I had somebody on Facebook that plays there all the time going, yeah, just go out and play. They're fine with it. And I'm like, I wouldn't be telling people that. So, a situation like that where all of a sudden you got 20, 30 people on a golf course and you're not there and they're just out playing golf on your course and the police are called, I don't know how liable the owner would be at that point.
I think part of it might be what proactive steps are you taking? We've coned off our parking lot and put out signs saying that the course is closed, and if we see folks, we're enforcing it. So I think if you're taking my thinking on it would be, if you're taking some proactive steps to try and prevent it, if groups are out there, it would be more on their responsibility. But if you're taking maybe a passive approach and allowing people to use your parking lot and go out there as they wish, and when you see them, you're not really doing anything, at that point, maybe there would be some liability. It's going to probably be partially be with what's your relationship with your local law enforcement. My public safety is not going to come out and cite me likely for allowing people. I actually, on Friday, when I saw the numerous groups out there, I called our police chief and asked him to send a couple cars out, and they just drove the cart paths, asking people to leave the course. I told them that we're not looking to cite anybody at this point. We just want to ask people to leave. And all but one of the folks that I ran into was very understanding of it. So they got it. They were just like, darn it, I was hoping we'd get away with it. It was pretty much their response at this point. But yeah, I think, especially of course, like Pheasant Run, where we have condos and homes all around it, it's very easy for somebody to walk out their back door and start playing golf. And we had one foursome was our annual pass holders, and they were out there just walking the course. So if you hadn't thought about it, maybe something to be aware of, that folks are taking liberties and just going out to courses and hopping on the course. So maybe something to be aware of.
I'm going to add for the people on the phone and not on the app, Rob from City of St. Clair Shores mentioned in the chat box that they've barricaded the parking lot so people can't enter the parking lot, and then has a sign that says, per the executive order of the state of Michigan, the golf course is closed until further notice. Anybody that enters the golf course during this closure is subject to fine. And he said that that's been pretty effective so far, and they're also just not looking to cite anyone, but that's been effective on its own.
Okay, that's helpful. When I was sharing my screen, I wasn't able to view the chat, so I had to unshare my screen so I can repost that if anybody needs it. I think that was pretty much the agenda at this point.
Yes, please.
What was that?
Yes, please. If you could repost that, I'm on the phone, so I'd love to see that sign.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. Any other roundtable discussions, thoughts that I had not included on the agenda? Really just open it up to any thoughts at this point.
Yeah, this is Mike Hoffmeister, Ypsilanti Township. Curious if there are discussions being had at township or city, county administration levels for those golf courses that are non-reverting or enterprise funds. Are there discussions taking place about kind of a plan B for increasing subsidies or long-range planning as it relates to revenue and expenses from the agency's perspective?
In Canton Township, we haven't had those discussions to this point, but we have started doing budget projections for all of our areas on a monthly and weekly basis from here through at least June. I went ahead and did mine through the end of the year just to kind of get an idea of what would our budgets look like if we were to remain shut down. What costs can we control and what costs are going to be there. You know, we still have to pay for fuel for the mowers and pay for staff to go out and mow, those sorts of things, at least our full-time staff. So those aren't really something we can stop doing. So really evaluating what are the variable costs that we can control at this point. But from a subsidy and some of that higher level discussion that you brought up, we have not had those discussions.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else on that topic or others? No? Okay. Well, with that, I guess I'll end our call, but I appreciate all of you jumping on here. Thanks for all your input. Again, feel free to email me, and Tina's going to post some of the resources on the website for everybody to have access if you were only able to call in for this and weren't able to view some of those things. And if you come across other resources, please get those to Tina and Clay so they can post that, and then we'll try and get a email group going And if at some point we want to host another discussion like this on golf, I'm happy to host that again. I'm able to set up meetings through Zoom. So if you feel that there's a need at another time, I'm happy to set up another meeting.
Hey, I'll just say to the group before we all hang up, like I said, Greg did set this up on his end, and then we, obviously communicated back with him about being able to share this, but we also have GoToMeeting as part of our MParks offerings, and that is open to members. We have limited ability to host multiple calls at the same time, but if there's a webinar or something that anybody in this group would like to have related to something else, we can also try and help facilitate that through the office. Take an email to myself and Tina to coordinate that like Greg did. He just chose to host it through his Zoom account, which we certainly appreciate too, because we have some other webinars going on at the same time. So just know that we're available to help you if there are other discussion topics.
All right. Appreciate that. Thank you all for joining. Stay healthy out there, and hopefully we'll talk to you under better circumstances soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.